All right, hey guys, my name is Patrick, and today we're going to be comparing two cars that actually are pretty similar both in price, performance, and looks. I have my brother's 2007 Porsche Cayman S, as well as my 2012 Nissan 370z. And despite being from two different companies, from two different years, there's a lot of similarities. They're both rear-wheel drive, they both have sort of a hatchback design, they both have manual transmissions, they both have 6 cylinders, and they're around 300 horsepower, give or take. And in this video, I'm going to highlight some of the main differences between the two and just give my overall thoughts on, what I prefer and what others might prefer. So 2007 Porsche Cayman S, this is near stock. My brother got it 6 months ago, and it's around $27,000 to $28,000 for a really clean model. My brother has kept it pretty stock. It just has a Circuit Works exhaust. That's about it. My 370Z, on the other hand, is a little bit different. So the actual price is cheaper. You can get these for $20,000, maybe a little bit below 20 for, a little bit higher mileage. Mine has 65,000 miles, $20,000 is what I got it for, and it's pretty overall clean. However, the difference is that I have a lot of aftermarket parts. I have wheels and tires, track alignments, intakes, exhaust, tune, an oil cooler. So it's a little bit more modified, which makes it near the same price, albeit a little bit cheaper. I think realistically, we can roughly call these two about a $25,000 sports car kind of shootout. Now, even though this is my car and I love it, there are a lot of things that the Porsche does better. So I'm really excited to kind of showcase kind of the key differences between the two cars, especially in terms of how they drive. So let's take out, let's see, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Let's take out the Z first. I personally really do love my car. I think it sounds awesome. It's very comfortable inside, and I'm really hoping that it stays reliable, which I think it will. These Zs, these VQs, are very, very good engines in terms of reliability. But let's talk about what this car is like to live with, to drive with. The overall interior quality, surprisingly, it's actually pretty good. Steering wheel is pretty beefy. That's one thing that the Cayman differs for sure, is this is a pretty large steering wheel, and the actual weight is a bit heavy, to be honest. I wish it was a little bit lighter. That's a personal preference thing. Auto rev match is amazing. One of my favorite features of this car, to be honest. It's really, really great. Fun fact, it was actually the first car with automatic rev matching. The clutch is pretty easy. It takes, a couple minutes to get used to. It's not the most intuitive in the world, but it's not bad. Shifter is really good. CD009 transmission is very, very stout. These typically can hold a lot of power without really having many issues. You obviously need to do a clutch. Once you do that, they're pretty bulletproof. The actual shift feels pretty good. It's not super notchy, but it does have very defined gates for each gear. Again, auto rev match is great. And it's pretty quick. On the highway, the suspension is really compliant. I find that, honestly, I'm pretty impressed with the stock suspension. I know that the Nismo is a little bit stiffer, but personally, I think the stock suspension is awesome. And you definitely feel that this is a pretty put together car. It feels solid. You don't feel like you're crashing over bumps or anything. It feels sturdy. Having the open cabin, because this doesn't really have a back seat or separation from the trunk, does make it a little bit loud, and especially with my exhaust, it's a little droney. I wouldn't say that it's necessarily bad drone, like it's tolerable for sure, but it's definitely there and it's noticeable. but personally I'm used to cars that are a little bit louder, so it's not a huge deal for me. These seats are pretty comfortable. On track, they do their job. I'd say that, you know, honestly, where I'm at with my driving level, I could probably get some seats in the future. For now, I think it's fine for a couple more events, but you know, the bolstering could be improved, especially on the thigh support. You know, take that, you know, for what you will. At least my body type, I'm 5'8", pretty skinny, so I need a little bit more bolstering to stay put. Okay, nice GT3 over there. That's not too shabby. That looks good. Wish that was 25,000. Fortunately, it's not. But yeah, no, I think honestly, if you can get this car for about $20,000, it's a lot of car for the money. You'll feel happy with the interior. It's pretty put together. Everything's nice. Nice. Yeah, I really think it is a lot of car for the money, even now. And especially, man, if once these drop even more, if they do, 15K for this would be just insane. One thing I will say, the visibility is not very good in this car. You really cannot see much. The blind spots are pretty god awful. The rear window is pretty small, and an earlier year like mine does not have a backup camera, so that's one thing that is definitely a little bit, I guess, sketchy when you're driving it. You sort of have to really be kind of constantly aware, hey, is there someone in my blind spot right now? You know, you have to kind of pay attention a little bit. Overall, I'm used to it though. I mean, like any car, every negative you just get used to eventually. Plus, we can hear that Porsche Spider in front of us. I think it looks pretty great. Really good power in my opinion. It's not the fastest thing in the world by any means. I'm not saying it is, but I'm happy with, I guess, the sort of emotion that it gives you. It revs really high. It's one thing to point out. And yeah, I don't know, I'm content with it. So with this, let's hop into the Cayman and I'll give you some really good back-to-back driving thoughts. Okay, so now that we are in the Cayman, first thing you notice immediately, the interior is a bit smaller, less cargo space, less cup holders, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. Having a smaller car makes it feel a lot just lighter. And this steering wheel is a lot more simple, a little bit smaller, and the steering itself is a little lighter. Once we start turning, you'll immediately notice, or I will immediately notice at least, how much quicker this car responds to steering input. It is like lightning fast. It just wants to go wherever you want to go. The shifter is a little bit weird, to be completely honest. It feels sort of like a little vague, and it's very kind of light to get into gear. So a little bit odd. Maybe that's just me. You do have a lot more practicality, to be honest. You have space back there and you have space up there because this car is mid-engine. It's technically right here. Enough about the inside. Let's go take it for a fun drive. The exhaust also, let's get a listen. sounds real good. It's a little bit more like high pitched than my 370Z. My 370Z is a little bit more deep and sort of, I don't want to say monotone throughout the entire rev range, but this definitely builds in terms of like the tone, which I personally love. I think honestly, I'm gonna give the Cayman the exhaust plus, I guess, or score +1. It sounds really, really good. The clutch pedal is a little bit stiffer than the 370Z, but I would actually say it's a little bit easier to get in and just be able to kind of drive and not really have to think too much. You get used to it quicker in this than you do the 370. And overall, if I could just kind of say, you feel a little bit more one with the car. And I think that's something that the 370 kind of falls behind on. This to me, and I'm gonna say something, this to me feels more like a Miata, which I like. The Miata is meant to be horse and rider one together. You feel that with the Cayman. You don't necessarily feel that with the Z. But Z has other things that make it, you know, a little bit easier of a car to live with every day. It's a little bit bigger, it's more space inside. This, you feel like it's a much more kind of hardcore, dedicated sports car. I love the gauge display on the Cayman. This white background with the kind of more like stylish letters. I think that looks really good compared to the Z, which is a little bit more like classy, kind of normal, kind of trying to be like upscale modern. This is just kind of like Porsche just being Porsche. They're doing whatever they want to do, and I like that for them. Suspension stiff. You might have heard that bump back there. There's a little bit more crashing noise than the Z. The Z is much more composed in terms of suspension, at least for like everyday driving, right? This feels a little bit more hardcore. And just, you know, man, the steering input is so much better in this Cayman compared to the 370. As soon as you just like give it any amount, it just wants to turn with you. I love that. That's really, really great, and it just makes it feel like a much more active and lively car. These seats are a little bit tighter than the 370Z. I'd honestly say that the Z seats are a little bit more comfortable. They also have a bit more adjustability. These are not bad by any meaning. I think that they're actually quite good, to be honest. But comparing directly to my Z, I prefer the seats in that. Being a bit of an older car, technically, even though the Z and this are only 2 years apart because the Z started in 2009, you feel that this is an older car. Everything feels older. There's a little bit more creaks and rattles. But when you have a soundtrack like that, I mean, come on, who cares about creaks and rattles? And again, just the steering is so good. Rev matches feel great. Really, really good. It sounds glorious. I think what this comparison is going to boil down to is the Z, the 370Z, is a little bit more mature, kind of knows that it's more of a daily driver type vehicle. This Porsche Cayman, man, this is like a second vehicle. It's just straight up fun. You want to just go out for a nice drive and just like have fun? This is it, man. It's good. And in terms of price, to be honest, you know, $28,000 is a little bit much, in my honest opinion. But, you know, it's a Porsche. It's likely going to depreciate a lot less than other vehicles, you know, that are brand new. So even though it's a little bit more expensive, it might end up just working its way down slower in depreciation. So honestly, I don't know, you know, not my choice to decide. I got my Z because it was what I can afford and I really like it. The brake pedal in this is kind of weird. It's very stiff, and it feels sort of like it doesn't have a lot of power behind it. Oh, it's so good. I just want to rip it, but I can't. Yeah, man, this car makes you want to drive it really hard. Ooh, it sounds nice next to the barrier. Every day I'm thankful that I'm not driving a boring car like the one in front of us. You know, I think this car, the power band is a little bit different than the 370Z. This builds a lot more. It feels like it does not have much torque down low, and it's really just happy being 6,000 or above. That's when this car feels the quickest. Whereas the Z, I think, is a little bit more, wherever you are, you have some form of power. It helps to be in the upper range, but if you're down low, you still have a lot of power. This is the opposite. It wants to be all the way up top. So, which car would I recommend? Well, like I said kind of earlier, this is a much more raw driving experience. If that's something you're looking for, I would recommend the Cayman. If you want something that's a little bit more daily driver friendly, arguably will be a little bit more reliable over time, 370Z is probably the way to go. I think if you're a realist and you just want something that works very, very well, 370Z is awesome. If you're an optimist and you just want to have fun and you're not really worried about any Porsche thing breaking down, this is an awesome choice. The shifter cables have fallen apart in this car. You know, that's one thing to watch out for. But like, you know, I don't know. Take it for what it will. It's definitely going to be a little bit more expensive to maintain this car as opposed to the 370Z. But hey, we're not buying these cars for the practical, like, cost-saving choice. If that was the deal, we would buy, you know, a 2005 Honda Civic and just drive that for 500,000 miles. We drive these because they're fun. Alright, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I had a blast making it. I, for one, love driving this car, and I love driving my 370Z. I hope you enjoyed, and I appreciate you watching. Thank you so much. Have a good one.